one of my most anticipated movies of the year. Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back. Today I am talking about Ready Player One, pretty much everyone's most anticipated movie for almost 2 years now. I wanted to see this on Wednesday night like everybody else, but as you can tell, I am not in my usual location. I was traveling all day Wednesday because I am at my parents' house visiting for the weekend. So I'm going to have to make do with what I got, which includes using my laptop camera versus my usual camera because I couldn't fit that into my bag. So with that all ignored, we are going to talk about Ready Player One. Like I said, this has been everyone's most anticipated movie of the year. And in this video, like usual, I'm not going to really talk about any spoilers or anything like that because in my film school podcast that is going up in a week from Monday, we're going to be talking about Ready Player One and digging into some spoilers and what's the difference between the movie and the book. So with that all said, let's get into talking about this movie. I went into this kind of with high expectations just because I love the book so much and I have been listening to it. I listened to it on the plane all day on Wednesday, pretty much most of the book. I had started listening to it and I got about 3/4 of the way through the first part of the book. Like, the Audible thing is broken up into 2 audiobooks, I guess, and I got through the first half of the audiobook, and I listened to pretty much all of that in about half of the second part on the airplane, and then I listened to most of the rest of it. I'm still not done with the audiobook, and I'm probably going to finish listening to it while I am on vacation, so I'm not fully finished, but I do have pretty much a good grasp on what the difference is. And this is kind of a spoiler. I haven't listened to any reactions or thoughts or read any reviews about this because I wanted to go into it with a very clean slate. So I don't know if this is a true spoiler, but I think that it's in the trailers that it's a lot different from the book. It's very different from the book, I will say that, but I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because I actually really enjoyed this. And I will say also that I am a huge fan of Ernest Cline's novel. It has been one of my favorite books that is not Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings in a long, long time. So going in, I was like, I am so excited for this movie. I really hope that they bring this world to life. And they brought the world to life, but it is very, very, very different from the book. And I will talk about all of the differences in my podcast, like I said. But I don't really care, is the weird thing. I was like thinking I would really, really be upset if it's very different. And it's almost completely different, besides the fact that it has the same kind of general storyline throughout the whole thing. And it's the same premise. Even though I had some problems with the fact that it was completely different. Like, if I had gone into this as a very true, very hardcore fan, I would have some problems with the fact that it is completely different from the book. But at the same time, I actually kind of, watching this as I was watching it, I kind of separated the two. Like, the book is one thing, and the movie is another thing. Like, the two of them kind of exist on one plane, but they're two separate things, if that makes any sense. I don't consider this part of the Ready Player One book-verse, but it's the Ready Player One movie-verse. So to me, they just felt very different, and I really enjoyed the difference in the two. So it's more of an inspired by kind of movie, like a inspired by true events movie is. It's inspired by Ernest Cline's novel Ready Player One. The characters are all of the same names except for IROC, who I mean, he's a funny addition, but I think that's more because I'm not really too fond of TJ Miller. He's really funny and he's kind of an okay actor, but he is very annoying a lot of the time. And IROC was like a very, very minor character. I will say this. He is a very minor character in the books versus the movies. In the book versus the movie, he's a very minor character. And in this, he's still kind of a minor character, but he's in not the majority of the movie, but he's in a pretty good chunk of the movie versus in the book, he's in like a couple chapters at the beginning, and that's about it. And I had completely forgotten that he was an actual character in the book until I reread it. I can't talk today. Some things I really, really enjoyed about this movie, though, were the way they really explained the world and the contest. The way they brought the world to life was exactly kind of how I pictured it. Both the like stacks and the real world and the like Oasis in general looked kind of how I had pictured it to look, and I really love that. I love the like CG and the way they matrixed everything together, or the way they like showed everything kind of matrixing together and building, like if they were using a power up or going into like a mech suit or something. There's a scene where one of the characters kind of throws this thing on the ground out of their inventory and it builds a Godzilla around them, and it just looks so cool. The movie looks amazing, and as a fan of the book, it looks the way I had hoped it would look, and I'm not mad at that. Steven Spielberg did such a great job of bringing the Oasis to life. This movie is like a dream for anybody who is into pop culture, 90s or 80s, and like old pop culture, old movies, just pretty much Spielberg's library. And it was so much fun. It was so cool looking, and I don't know how much else I could say about that without using the exact same words 50 million times. Besides TJ Miller, the rest of the actors were so fun, and they really brought the characters to life. My personal favorite is Lena Waithe's character, H, and I think that might just be because I love Lena Waithe. She's hilarious, and you can, even though you don't, like, you know it's her because you know that she's the voice of H, they changed her voice a little bit, slight spoiler, to sound more like a dude's voice, but you still feel her coming through, and I just love that. You feel her humor, you just feel her, and that sounds wrong, but Lena Waithe is just really fun. Olivia Cooke is amazing, but I love her in pretty much anything she does. I mean, honestly though, the only thing I've seen her in is Bates Motel, but she was probably my favorite character in Bates Motel, although I've only seen the first like 3 seasons of that. But I loved Olivia Cooke in Bates Motel, and I loved her in this. She is so amazing. She's such a great actress, and I can't wait to see her in more stuff. So let me know some things that you think that she's really great in the comments, and I'll check it out sometime. I don't know when I'll have time, but I'll try to check it out. And of course, Ben Mendelsohn plays the villainous Nolan Sorento, and oh, he is exactly who I kind of, well, for some reason I had pictured Sorento to be a little bit younger than Ben Mendelsohn is, but he's still like, I guess what I had pictured was like a younger Ben Mendelsohn, and I'll talk about this kind of in the spoilery video with the podcast, but they do something interesting with Sorrento's character. Like, it's not a huge thing, but it's just part of the like really big difference in the movie versus the book that they have with Sorrento's character. But Ben Mendelsohn is just, he's so villainous and so great. His American accent is surprisingly okay, but I think it's hidden behind the way his false teeth, I feel like he had false teeth, were making his voice sound. It sounded like he was trying to talk around his teeth, kind of the same way Gary Oldman sounded when he was like playing Winston Churchill in Darkest Hour. His words kind of sounded a little garbled, but it wasn't like super bad. You could still understand him a little bit. That kind of threw me off the first time I heard it, because I'm used to hearing him with his British accent. Like when he was in Darkest Hour and when he was in Star Wars Rogue One, he had his accent. He had his original like normal accent, but in this he did have an American accent, and it sounded a little funky, but I'm blaming it on the false teeth, him having to talk around them, and yeah, it was kind of weird, but I can't really say anything bad about this movie. Some other things I really enjoyed were the way that they flipped from real life to the Oasis and back. They were showing how the players were reacting and moving around in the real world and how their avatars were acting in the Oasis, which was super cool. And that was one of the things I know a lot of people had a little iffiness about, if they would be able to do like why they would do this movie, because everything happens in the Oasis for the most part, or inside the character's head with a narrative, but they did a really great job of incorporating Wade's thoughts and his actions and merging different storylines together, because they didn't just tell it from Wade's point of view, they told it from Artemis's point of view for a little bit, they told it from Sorento's point of view for a little bit, and like what the IOI is planning. I just thought that was really cool, delving into different points of view and different storylines, which makes this to me feel like it's a different beast than the actual book, and I really enjoyed that. Something else that they did that the book did not, and this one, it's not really a big deal if it's a spoiler, because you see it in the trailer, like you see the Overwatch characters and stuff, but in the book they talk about like they don't really go past like the 80s or anything like maybe in the 2000s, because this book came out I think in 2013. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know off the top of my head when this book came out. So they don't really have much past that. But in the movie they have so much to choose from. They bring in Overwatch, they bring in, I think they have like Halo, I'm not 100% sure on the Halo thing. They talk about Twitch. Like Parzival mentioned, he watches Artemis's Twitch streams. So, I mean, they brought in like current pop culture stuff, not only like retro pop culture stuff, which is really cool and fun, especially for a lot of like pop culture fans now, but it's not as much as the throwback stuff, which is what a lot of people are going for. They throw it back so good, so good, so hard, and I love it. I want the soundtrack and the score for this because both of them are amazing. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's a John Williams score, which is a no-brainer because we all know how much I love John Williams scores, but the soundtrack is so good. It's like all your favorite music. And fun fact, I kind of freaked out when they started playing the end credits because they played a Hall & Oates song, which is this song I use as my alarm clock. And everyone's gonna be like, oh, you use a Hall & Oates song as your alarm clock, you're gonna hate that song. I'm like, no, that song actually helped me wake up because it's my favorite part of 500 Days of Summer, and that's a whole long story I won't talk about now. But it just freaked me out for a second, and it's kind of like rickrolling myself whenever I hear You Make My Dreams Come True by Hall & Oates, because I'm like, oh, I'm supposed to wake up now even though I'm already awake. The music in this is so good, especially if you are a fan of 80s music and 80s pop culture references and 80s movies. It's just such a blast. So with that said, I will be talking about my rating for this, my rewatch score. I will definitely be adding this to my collection because being a fan of the book and fan of Steven Spielberg and fan of movies like this, I will be adding this to my collection, but on a rewatchability scale, I would probably put this at a Redbox, but I will probably be seeing this in theaters again soon because it was really fun seeing it. Like, you just felt the vibrations of the sound and it was so much fun. So my final rewatch score would be Redbox. It is such a fun, such a blast, such a fun blast of a movie. I feel like I'm just rambling right now. Let me know what you guys thought of Ready Player One. Like I said, the Film School podcast is not coming out this Monday, but next Monday we'll be doing a spoiler talk on all the things that were different with Ready Player One, and Aaron and I will be giving our thoughts and opinions on this, and of course, I will have a reaction on Stardust. Probably it's up right now as you're watching this. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate every single one of you. And hey to all my new subscribers, which is really awesome. I love you guys too. I appreciate all of you just as well. And if you're not subscribed, let me know who you are in the comments down below and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like. And of course, subscribe as always because I love talking about movies, TV shows, filmmaking, film history, sometimes books. I was going to do a book review on Ready Player One, but I didn't finish it in time. But I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!